Welcome to the Black Knight Nation podcast. I'm your host, Sal Interdonato. The Black Knight Nation podcast is brought to you by Higher Echelon, company run by Joe Ross, who's a former Army fullback, former Army assistant coach, former Army officer, and also a guest on the Black Knight Nation podcast. Check out our YouTube channel. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have plenty of guests of Army football and also other Army sports. And today, we're really happy to welcome Brian Riley, Army hockey coach, back to the Black Knight Nation podcast. Brian, it's been a while, but I caught up with you at the basketball game on Saturday, and you were so gracious enough to come on. And it's a busy week for you guys, right? It's an important week for you guys. Air Force is coming into town this weekend for a big 2-game series, and just first off, great to have you on. Thanks for your time.
Hey Sal, it's great to be back on with you. Appreciate all you do to promote Army sports here, and I'm always listening to all the great guests that you have on. And when we ran into each other at the basketball game, and you asked if I could do this, for sure, I'm honored to be on here.
Awesome, really appreciate it. Wanted to talk to you a little bit about the season so far. You guys have a 7-13-3 record going into this Air Force series, but you guys have played some really good competition, and you've had some games that have come down to the wire. You have some games where you rally to force overtime. There's been a lot of exciting games in action on the ice. Maybe you can talk to us a little bit about where you think you guys are at right now.
Yeah, it's been kind of a tale of two seasons for us. We started off the year, and I think it was a 1-7-1 start, a lot of non-league games. We knew during that stretch, or I was certainly committed to playing every single player on our roster. We have, I think, the second youngest team in college hockey when you talk about freshmen and sophomores. And in today's college landscape, with grad transfers, COVID seniors, transfers, we don't have any of those. So it's really important that we get our younger guys experience. A lot of teams are bringing in experience with transfers. So I think the experience that our guys gained was really good at the start. And then we had a stretch of, I think, 8 league games before the break, and we went 5-2-1, which put us right in the middle of the pack of Atlantic hockey and started to give our guys confidence. I actually wish we could have kept playing, but Christmas break came, and took us a couple games to get going. But we had Providence, who was number 11 in the country at the time, in here, and beat them in a shootout, and so that's given us some confidence, and we've been able to pick up points in a lot of our league games, which keeps us right in the middle of the pack. So, and now here comes Air Force, right, where the records don't mean anything. So we always have great games against each other. I think our last 3 games have all been overtime games. So would anticipate that this weekend there'll probably be more close games in here at Tate Rink.
Yeah, and you have a sellout crowd for the Saturday afternoon game, right? And I guess the Providence game was for the younger guys on your team, right? The Providence game was a pretty big game too, because you had a big crowd there, and now maybe that gets them a little bit ready for what they have coming up against Air Force, right? Maybe just the atmosphere, so to speak.
The atmosphere, and we had a game early in the year against the U.S. U18 team in here, and the place was packed. Providence, so we've had some great atmospheres in here, and obviously this weekend both games, Saturday sold out, Friday will probably be sold out. So for our guys, especially our young guys, they haven't seen Air Force yet, or been involved in that series, but they have been involved in some pretty big games in here. So hopefully that will help kind of calm the nerves when that puck is dropped and they get out on the ice for their first shift here on Friday night.
Yeah, can you describe to people what the rivalry is like between Army and Air Force? Because, in other sports, you have Army and Navy are conference games, right? And this is kind of your conference game for hockey. Navy doesn't have a hockey team that plays at the Division I level, so I was just wondering if you can describe what the rivalry is like on the ice for you
Yeah,
guys.
I mean, this is, I guess, equivalent. This is our Army Navy game compared to all the other sports here at West Point. We're the only two teams in college hockey that knows what the other academy or knows what the other players are going through, right? So for us, there is a mutual respect for each other. We try to beat the heck out of each other for 2 nights, but what makes, I think, our rivalry so different than any other in college hockey, when you talk about the BC, BU, the North Dakota, Minnesota, and all the others out there, is that when our games end, both teams gather together, salute the salute the fans, and then on Saturday night, the seniors from each team will line up shoulder to shoulder on the red line, and the rest of the teammates from Army and Air Force will line up shoulder to shoulder behind them. And it's really neat because it's ultimately these guys are going to be on the same team. And so it's, I think, to have a rivalry that you have respect for each other is pretty neat, and we certainly respect them. I know they respect us, and like I said, they want to beat us, we want to beat them, and these will be two of the most physical games that we have all year. But really, when it comes down to it, there's 6 points on the line, and the rivalry, yes, but you want to get points, and so that's the most important thing. And it just so happens that this weekend, the points on the line are against Air Force.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. When we were talking on Saturday, I asked you a little bit about a game that happened earlier this season when you were at Sacred Heart, and an incident that you don't see often in hockey. And you said it. You were trying to describe it to me with one of your players, Eric Huss, and Eric Huss was inadvertently slashed with a skate, and then Rachel Leahy, your trainer, comes on the ice and gets the bleeding controlled so he can go to the hospital and get that stitched up. And maybe you could talk to us a little bit about that, and because that did get some national exposure there for you guys. And Rachel was on ESPN with Steve Levy, and rightfully so, right? I mean, just an amazing job she did, and it must have been a little bit a little scary there at one point. And just want to, maybe you can describe the that that night to us, or that game to us.
Yeah, for sure. So Husser was on the ice, and one of our guys, Noah Wilson, and a Sacred Heart player had a big time collision, and the Sacred Heart the player went up in the air, and Husser just happened to be skating by and got sliced by the skate blade. And we're all kind of looking at the hit, and then I kind of noticed, as I'm sure everyone else did, Husser was skating toward our bench, and his helmet got knocked off. And it wasn't until he started to get closer that I was like, wow, like how's Husser cut? I thought he was bleeding from his mouth. But then when he got next to the bench and you saw the trail of blood and he moved his hand, you saw that I don't even call it a slice. I mean, it was a hole and blood was coming out. And that's when our trainer, Rachel, I'm still in awe of how she handled it that day. Like, it's not like she's had any experience dealing with that injury, but the level of professionalism, the calmness, the take charge. I mean, all those things that she exhibited that day were amazing to kind of stand on the outside and watch her take charge in what was the scariest situation that I've ever seen as a coach on a bench. I've heard about that injury, but never have seen it. And Yeah, Husser, she actually got her hand in on the wound, and then as well as the towels, and kept the wound closed to try to get the bleeding under control. And when they were wheeling him out on the gurney to the ambulance, she was still on top of him, holding that wound, because she did not want to let go. And the surgeon at the hospital, got there and got him into surgery, and he told us that he didn't have a lot of time. If he hadn't got there when he got there, if Rachel hadn't done what she did, and the other medical folks, that could have been a catastrophic injury, and it would have been terrible. So Rachel deserves all the credit that she's getting, as do all of our trainers. Everyone just assumed your trainers are working with sprained ankles, separated shoulders, cuts and bruises, but they are the ones. And as evident in the Cincinnati Buffalo Bill game, like, the trainers are the ones that, if a life needs to be saved, everybody is counting on them to do it. And so, gosh, we are really fortunate to have Rachel, and she certainly was the MVP of that game, and probably the MVP of our season for what she did that night.
Yeah, no doubt. The Atlanta Cocky honored her as their player of the week, right? Which is, you never, when have you ever seen like a non-player be with that honor, right? Never, right?
No. Like, credit to the league for doing that. When I saw that, it was kind of neat at the time. They had goals 0, assists 0, points 0, life saved 1. And it was like, wow. So, I mean, she was very deserving of that, as she's very deserving of all the attention that she has received because of her actions that night.
Yeah, pretty emotional when Eric gets on the scoreboard there and says thank you to her right during one of your games, and just saying thanks for saving my life. I mean, that I'm even getting a little choked up saying that, Brian. I mean, because it's
no,
just
I mean, we honored her before the Providence game, sold out building, and it was funny. The next day, I had a text from the Providence coach just saying, he goes, I mean, that was really amazing to be a part of. And he said he found himself on the bench getting choked up, listening to Husser on the big screen, and obviously listening to the PA announcer talk about what Rachel did. So she's had a positive impact, and I think just has also brought to the forefront the attention that trainers deserve. Like, they're always the ones in the background. They're never really spoken about or talked about, like, never get any of the recognition. That's usually a coach or a player. It just, that night proved how valuable trainers are, and how much they're needed to make sure that the safety of all the players are certainly looked after.
I'm so glad we could talk about it. It puts things in perspective, right? That it's so much more than a goal scored or a puck saved, or on the ice. It goes beyond that. And I think with your team especially, right? You got, with any Army team, and maybe hockey as much as any other, that the brotherhood there, right? And it goes beyond the guys on the bench too. It goes to the trade, like you said, it goes so deep. And man, it's just so to see that, and just, it really puts things in perspective, in my opinion. Now, what, Eric? You might have some good news on Eric, right? Maybe this weekend. Or...
So Eric is back. He's skated this week, and there's a good chance that he'll be out there on Friday night. Obviously, he'll be wearing a neck guard You don't really see that in college hockey.
Hmm.
After seeing what I saw that night, I think neck guard should be worn because Eric was 8, 9, 10 minutes away from possibly losing his life, and uh, you know I just I'm sure a lot of people, a lot of college players might not like the idea, but I just again seeing what I saw. Uh, I just think everybody should wear a neck guard, and so he'll have one, and we're thrilled that he's back. We're excited, you know, uh, to potentially get him on the ice here.
Yeah, I think that moment when his first step on the ice, and I mean, I'm guessing the Army crowd and the announcer it'll be aware. It's going to be a really special moment, I would guess. Like, and wow, it'd be pretty powerful this weekend if he gets that chance to skate. Want to ask you a little bit about the team. Have some mentions here, Brian. Have some fan. One fan asked me about what prompted your move of Noah Wilson from defense to forward, I guess, this year, and how you
Yeah.
think that's played out for you. I know that maybe you can go into that for a second.
Yeah, at the time we were struggling, and we knew that Will 2 years ago had played up front with Patrick Smith and Kendrick Frost, and so we just felt it would give us a line that had an identity to him. And Wilson's such a great kid. When we approached it, I mean, he's a senior, and I wanted to get his opinion, like if it was something that he wanted to do. And all he said to me, Coach, is I'll do whatever I can do to help the team win. Not surprising that he would say that. We're still able to use him on D during the penalty kill, but for us, it was a move that I think it's been a great move for us, and credit to Wills for the job that he's done going from D to forward.
Yeah, I mean, so he's kind of like a utility guy for you almost, right? To a point, or no?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I mean he's got that versatility where he can play forward, D. He's on a power play up front. He's on the PK
Hmm.
on the back end. So that tells you what type of player that he is, because most players in your program can't play both positions, and certainly be on different positions on a PK and a different position on a power play. So yeah.
No doubt. So I want to ask you a little bit about the offense this year. I know that
Yeah.
Joey Baez and
Yes.
Ricky Lyle are your top goal scorers, and you lost Colin Billick, to graduation. He's
Mhm.
playing, minor league hockey right now. Just how you see your offense kind of evolve this year, because I mean, when you have a guy like Connor, who, is responsible for, it's a big part of your scoring last year and in
Yeah.
the past
Yeah.
years. I know Ricky Lyle was a guy who came up last year and was doing some good. I mean, who's came up with some scoring last year for you guys, and Joey's probably had worked his way up from his freshman year. But what have you seen from your offense this year so far?
Yeah, Sal. So we knew, like coming into the season, that was going to be an issue, and it was early, because when you talk about losing Colin Bielik, Eric Butte, Daniel Hyder, three guys that played a big role in your offense, and we knew we had some young guys coming in, but for me, like plebes here at West Point, it takes them a while. Like you usually don't start see them playing to their potential to their sophomore year, just because of getting acclimated to the academy and everything that goes on within it. So, we were hoping Joey Baez would step up, and I think he has 10 goals. He had 4 goals against a number of posts that he's hit. I mean, he could have close to 20 goals this year. So he's had a big year. Ricky, he's in double digits. Johnny Kiernan's had, been able to put some pucks in the net. The other guy that we haven't talked about that hasn't necessarily put pucks in the net, but he set guys up is Max Itagaki. He's one of our leading point scorers as a plebe, probably in the running to be freshman of the year in Atlantic hockey. So we like our future up front, and we feel that we have some important pieces that will hopefully help provide offense, not only the rest of this year, but in the coming years.
Yeah, Max has 17 assists for you guys, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
You
that's
watch
involved in a lot.
Yeah. I mean, you watch him play, and he's only 5'5". There are some guys that are 6'5" that play like they're 5'5". There's some guys that are 5'5" that play like they're 6'2" or 6, and he's that guy. But he just has an unbelievable ability to find guys. Right, his vision, his hockey sense, his hands are what allow him to stand out amongst his teammates and other players that we play. I mean, he's a guy that when you come to watch us play, you probably walk out of the rink going, wow, that little guy. I mean, he's really, really good. And yeah, so we're glad to have him.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you real quick about like recruiting at what recruiting is like for hockey, right? Because I do a lot of football stuff and I know that football side, but like how you like find, I know there's junior hockey involved, right? So how do you find a guy like Max? Like like for instance, how do you find a guy like him?
Yeah, totally different than football, where you see all these guys commit to Army football. They're coming right out of high school, or they put them in use maps, right? For us, our guys graduate from high school, and then they're probably playing 2 years of junior hockey, and it could be in the United States, could be in Canada. As a matter of fact, Max played up in British Columbia in Nanaimo, and we had heard about him. He was committed to another school, but you see so many people committed early and then changes. So Zach McKelvey did a great job kind of identifying him. And so we get older guys like our freshmen coming in here are 20 years old, the majority of them. So close to 21. That's because they've been away and gone to play this junior hockey. Now, a lot of people say, well, how does that work academically? Well, it has actually worked in a positive way in that our guys are older, they're more mature, they've been away from home for a couple of years. So when they come to the academy, they're not dealing with being away from home, being away from mom and dad and for the first time. They've already been through that. The academic piece, obviously, they have to be qualified to get into West Point. So they're smart and they're competitive. So when they get in the classroom, it's just like being on the ice. Like they'll compete, and it takes them a little while to get acclimated because the first day of class is here. Like that train pulls out of the station, and it's going at a good pace. So a lot of times our plebes, they make it through Beast thinking, oh, all right, life's going to be easy now. And then they get in that first week of class and it's like, oh my gosh, but then they get settled in. And so definitely hockey recruits a more older plebe to come into the academy than what you see with football or any of the other sports.
Yeah, will you get commits like early in their high school career, or will you get commits later, or what does it vary kind of a little bit, or?
Yeah, like we really don't, like a lot of teams here start talking to high school juniors, and we don't necessarily do that because we identify who those players are, but in hockey, high school juniors may not be going to play college hockey for 4 more years. So, so it makes it a little different because if we were going to recruit just players out of high school, and have 17 and 18-year-olds on our roster and look down at the other teams who have 21, 22, 23, 24. Now we played a couple teams this year with 25-year-olds. That would be boys against men. So that's how we've been able to try to compete against some of these teams is just try to get older, physically stronger players.
You mentioned Zach McKelvey, and having a former player on your staff, and he's been on your staff for a while now.
Yep.
That's got to be helpful in the recruiting process too. I'm guessing too, and just having that experience that he can talk to the future players of your team. That's got to be great to have Zach,
no.
and you also have your son now on staff too, right?
Yeah. So you have Zach, who's been here, I think, with me for 9 years, and I'll tell you this: that there's no better coach in college hockey than Zach McKelvey. I mean, he poured his heart and soul into the program as a player, and now he's done it as a coach. And I'm just so grateful that he's a part of our program. And as great as a coach as he is, he's even a better person. And for our players to have him as a role model, somebody that has gone through what they're going through, it really, really helps. And like you just said, from a recruiting standpoint, that's what I always say when the young men come in with their parents and I sit down with them and they've spent time with Zach, I'm always like, that is the finished product right there. So he's done wonders for our program. And now this year we were able to bring Jack on board as our director of hockey ops. And it's good to have him on our bench, because when he was against us for Mercyhurst, we had a hard time slowing him down. But he's done a great job. He has an unbelievable passion and a love for all of the Army sports. So for him, he was so excited to get this opportunity, and just listening to him sit around the coach's table every morning and offer his insight into what he's seen in practices and in games, has been really, really special. And so, I'm sure he's excited about having the opportunity. He was a part of this Army Air Force series as a young kid growing up, and now he gets to be a part of it as a staff member. I'm sure he's really excited.
Incredible, right? I mean, to just have we know that how deep hockey runs in your family, right, Brian? And to have your son on your staff now, to have him in meetings, and now to have him like part of that Army Air Force series, like you said, he was probably, watching games when he was younger, and it's just your family's history in hockey cannot be understated, right? And it just continues, right? And now I know you have another son too, Brendan, who also played, college hockey. He's coaching now too, or now?
Yeah. So he's coaching at AIC. So he was on the bench last weekend here, and I was hoping Jack and I would get the last laugh on him, but they beat us in overtime. We were able to get a point out of that game. But just to see the growth of our team earlier in the year, they came in here and beat us 8-2, and then so we've grown. But both of them have been around college hockey all their lives. So when I asked them what they were going to do, they both kind of gave me a look like, "What do you think we're going to do, Dad? We're going to get into coaching." And I was like, "Oh gosh!" But their mom probably wanted them to be doctors or lawyers or. But no, like I said, they've been around it, and they have a passion for it. They've seen their dad, they've seen their grandfather, their uncle, now their cousin at LIU. So not surprising that they're in college hockey, and I'll be excited to when my time is up to just kind of be able to sit back and watch where their path takes them through college hockey.
I have a couple more questions. Just a quick question for you. about the weekend, with Air Force coming up. This is another Army fan question about John Kiernan, about he missed his last game and will he be back in the lineup? And
Yeah,
Kendall Frost has been out a little bit. What's your kind of status
yeah.
for going into this weekend, would you say?
So Johnny K was injured, and we certainly missed him. I mean, he's just old Mr. Reliable, and such a smart player that plays in every situation for us. One of the best centers in college hockey. So we're hopeful to have him back this weekend. Frosty, you will not see him back. So hopefully, uh, like I said, Johnny K is somebody that we're hoping to get back in the lineup.
Nice. Just maybe wrap this up about we talked earlier about guys like Colin and maybe uh, Trevin, uh, Colin Billick and Trevin about playing, the next level. What the next level for Army players? He's like, this is not kind of the end for them. Some of
Yeah,
these guys, some of these
yeah,
guys do
yeah.
continue to have the dream of playing, in the NHL.
No, for sure. And we want players to have that dream. Like absolutely. And we tell them all that, hey, guess what? If you're good enough here, you will get noticed. And the fact that you were at West Point, you will really get noticed if you're a good player, because any professional organization is looking to have the right people in their locker room, because it's about the culture and making sure that your culture is good, and making sure that you have the people that are going to guard that culture every day. So when you can add a young man from West Point into your organization, uh, I think any general manager or any coach, as long as they have the potential talent, will tell you that, hey, this is the no-brainer. To add a person from an academy is something that is going to make our organization better. So our guys have been fortunate the last few years, and we've credit to Zach, who's brought in some great players that have caught the eye of NHL scouts, and as a result, have had an opportunity to continue their career as hockey players. But they also know, and they will be excited about having the opportunity to serve. And so I think it's a win-win. You get these athletes who I think bring positive attention to the academies, and it's great. It's great advertisement, really, and then you have them come back into the Army, and through their experiences, I think it's going to make them even better leaders. Young men that are going to do a great job leading this nation's sons and daughters. So we're excited and happy for our guys that get this experience. But ultimately, we also know that they're going to be great leaders, and they're going to be great officers.
Well said. Well said. Hey, Brian, really appreciate your time today about just talking about the program and where you guys are at this season and this big weekend coming up against Air Force. Guys, Air Force comes into town, Tate Rink Friday and Saturday night. Sold out Saturday afternoon. Friday night's close to a sellout. Brian said, and man, if you want to see some good high level hockey and you want to see some competition at its finest in collegiate sports, be at Tate Rink this weekend. It's going to be I'm sure, like you said, Brian, hard fought games. Every puck fought for, every goal is gonna be count in these games, and we really appreciate your time. Thanks so much. We got to have you back on more often, Brian.
Yeah.
Really appreciate today.
No, Sal, like I said, it's an honor to be on here with you, and I admire you from afar for what you do for Army sports, and really appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you. Don't you be afraid to come to a game here either, and hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully we'll have the chance to talk again in the future.
Thanks a lot, Brian.
All right, Sal.
Thanks for